what I realized is I could hire a bookkeeper, pay her, $25 an hour, save 10 hours a week. And if I billed only a couple of those at the rate I was at then, which was half of what I bill now, I was still way in the plus financially. And, I had the space to start actually looking at the work I was doing. Well, once I started applying that math, then it was pretty simple to go to, okay, I need to hire someone to answer my phones and manage my calendar. I don't want to be answering the phone. I only want to take the calls that I need to take. So, I began to expand that. I hired a controller to do all our internal monitoring of money, closing files, opening files, all of that kind of stuff. And so basically at the end, it came down to, if it did not require a bar card, I didn't do it.
Hey, it's the Profit Answer Man, Rocky Lalvani. If you're new to the podcast, check out my interview with Mike Michalowicz. It's episode number 2. If you want to hear about each chapter in the Profit First book, go back and listen to episodes 3 through 13. Episode 1 is the why and how. On the Profit Answer Man, we learn money mastery without all the complicated accounting mumbo-jumbo, using a simple system. Your accountant is busy documenting your transactions and creating a rearview mirror of what happened. My guess is you don't even look at the reports they sent you. If you're like most business owners, you struggle with this, and it's not your fault. We aren't taught money in school, and accountants aren't taught how to be profitable. The Profit First system created by Mike Michalowicz works, and he certified me to help you implement the system in your business. Remember, the new equation is sales minus profit equals expenses. Let's face it, without cash flow, you can't pay your employees, buy needed materials, or pay your mortgage and support your family. I help you to do that and more, so you can focus on the parts of the business you love and receive the rewards for your labor and investment into your business. The stronger you are as a business owner, the more jobs you create, the better we are as a country. Small business owners are the backbone of America, and for that, you deserve to be well rewarded. Just remember, more revenue does not equal more profit. That's why we focus on the bottom line. Today, we're here to talk about Profit First for law firms. But these principles apply to every business. So stay tuned regardless of whether you're in the law business. Mike shares a lot of gems on how he got out of his business and focused on the parts that were most important. He figured out the math equation for his business and built a dashboard that made it very easy to see what was going on and tell him where he needed to focus to improve any areas that were off track. Mike is one of the top lawyers in the country, but he found that working 50 hours a week wasn't enough to become financially stable. Without any systems, he was constantly on the verge of going under. The stress of this led to a divorce and the loss of his home. After applying the lessons he learned as an extreme endurance athlete and building the right systems, his practice was named the best criminal defense firm in Northern California, grew to 7 figures a year with just 3 lawyers working 20 hours a week. Listen in as Mike shares how. Welcome to the Profit Answer Man, Michael Chastaine. It's great to have you join us today.
Well, Rocky, I'm really excited to be here. Thank you.
And I am excited for the conversation. Can you share a little bit about yourself and your business?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have been a practicing criminal defense lawyer for 38 years. Started out in the public defender's office in San Jose, California, stayed there about 17 years. Because of the dot-com boom that was going on in the Bay Area, things got crazy. We moved to Sacramento, joined a firm for a period of time, and then in 2007, opened my own law firm, the Chastaine Law Office. And, the interesting thing is that I was very good at what I do as a criminal defense lawyer because I had a lot of great mentors in the public defender's office in particular. But when I went into business, I really didn't know how to run a business. I'd been a paper boy, and that was about the extent of my experience. So, I was doing what I thought other people were doing, other lawyers were doing, and just kind of stumbling along with this belief that because I was good, people would somehow find me. Well, to make a long story short, I eventually realized that that was not going to work. So I began to reach out to mentors, got some great mentors who began to show me the business side of running a law firm. And within a few short years, we went from basically hand to mouth, check to check, to doing a 7-figure law firm with just 2 other lawyers, being extremely profitable. And then at the end of 2021, I sold the firm. And now I'm of counsel to the firm. I still consult with them. Just finished my last case. It took a while to completely disengage, and moved from California to Santa Fe, New Mexico. And now I'm not only consulting with my old firm, but I'm also consulting with other small and solo businesses, law firms in particular, to help them learn how to become profitable and survive the journey.
That's our favorite word here, profit.
Yes. Yes, it is.
So how did you learn about profit first?
So I was part of the Richard James Partners Club. Richard James was one of my great mentors, and he brought Mike on as a presenter. And so I got a chance to meet him. And because I was what they call a captain, I also got to have dinner with Michael. I was really excited about the presentation. It just totally clicked with me. And on the plane ride home, read the whole book. The next day, went to the bank and opened 7 bank accounts, and have been following his process ever since. And it really was a big turnaround point for our firm.
So how did it change your business?
Well, what it did is basically, like most firms, we had a trust account, which is not our money, but we're working off of. And then there was an operating account. And the operating account often would be quite large because there was the payroll in there, and there was supposedly our savings and all this money. And so I never really had a real good sense of where we were at any given time. What Profit First did for me is divvied out, okay, I have a payroll account. I have a profit account. So I have kind of a guaranteed profit. I have a tax account. I have a discovery account, and I have an operating account. And probably most importantly, I have a rainy day fund account. And so at any moment, I could open up and look at the bank account and, know exactly where I was. What do I need to do to make sure I got payroll taken care of? What do I need to make sure that I got Uncle Sam taken care of? And that visual allowed me to look at the bank account. And this is exactly what I did every single day, make the transfers. I got paid every single day because there was a little part of that was being put in the profit account, which was mine. And this is all in addition to salary. And I knew exactly where we were. And it made a huge difference when COVID happened, because that rainy day fund was necessary. So that was how it changed, for me, is I knew exactly where I was at any moment.
Were you doing allocations every single day?
Yes. So we would have money come into an income account. And if it was our money, I would divvy it up. So if I got $1 at that time, 7% went into the profit account, 7% went into the tax account, 45% went in the payroll account, and everything else went in the operating account. And if the operating account got above a certain number, then I would cut that off and put that in the holding account. So I always kept my operating account very thin.
Any reason you did it every day? We try to tell people no more than once a week, only because it gets burdensome, but sometimes you have to.
Well, for me, there were a couple of reasons. One, I just got in the habit of looking at my bank account. I wanted to make sure that there wasn't any fraud going on, charges that, not appropriate. Two, there was a little rush every morning. I'd go in and I'd get paid. We'd get a $10,000 deposit. Well, Mike just made himself, some money. All right. And again, I always knew at any moment in time exactly how to know where I was. I knew what my payroll was, and occasionally, you do an overdraft or, a bill comes in that you forgot about. Well, I didn't want to pay bank fees, so I'm catching it. So that was just part of my morning routine. And that whole process took 2 minutes. I knew the math. So, bing, 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 transfer, boom, boom, done.
And so the other thing I hear is sometimes the bookkeepers get mad, but it really wasn't that big a deal for them, was it?
My bookkeeper, I gave her a copy of the book. She understood what we were doing. And I didn't require her to have the P&L reconciled every single day. My ask for her was that it was reconciled by Friday morning of every week. So then I would look at that and just make sure that everything was lined up. And, the truth is, after you do this for a while, you know what the numbers should be. So it really doesn't take long to go, oh, that number is not right for some reason. 99% of the time, the numbers are right. And literally it takes me, a couple minutes. And even now, I still look at the bank accounts every day. That's just part of my morning ritual.
And that's, hey, to each their own. However you want to apply it to you is perfectly fine. It's nice to have the daily win. And we just find a lot of people every day is a little tough on them. So we try and tell people not more often than weekly. But if you are one of those people who loves it and wants to do it, have at it. Make it work for you. Customize it to work best. The real thing that I found is what you talked about. You start after a while to feel your numbers. You know when they're right. You know when something's off. You have early warning indicators that there is a problem. And so it makes it easy for you to catch things up front and they're crystal clear. You have a big pile of money. You can't tell when something's going right or wrong. You're just hoping it's going well. And as you said, when COVID hit, the courts shut down.
Yep.
And so you were able to get through that storm because you have a reserve account and it allows you to do that. And I think every business needs a reserve account. There's disagreements on how much. I would say at least 2 months of expenses at minimum. Some people say 3 to 6 months. Some people will say 2 months of sales. Some people say 6 months, but somewhere in there, sitting on a large amount of cash is not a bad thing. And I know a lot of business owners struggle with this, except for one. There's only one guy I know who never complains about sitting on cash. His name's Warren Buffett. And he's got 130 billion in cash. He's okay sitting on it, waiting for the opportunities, right? And that's what this is all about. It allows you to sleep and it allows you to take care of things. So let's talk a little bit about your law practice and how you ran that as a business and how you were able to do it to give yourself a little bit more freedom. Because we all go into business for freedom. We don't all get the freedom. You did.
Right. Yeah. So when I first went out on my own, I was doing it all. I was doing my own bookkeeping. I was answering my phone. I was doing all that. And I wasn't doing a very good job of it, but I had nobody else to blame but myself. When it was pointed out to me that I could hire a bookkeeper online. And when I really took a good look and realized I was spending about 10 hours a week, doing all the transactions, making deposits, tracking all of that stuff. And I was doing a pretty lousy job of it. What I realized is I could hire a bookkeeper, pay her, $25 an hour, save 10 hours a week. And if I billed only a couple of those at the rate I was at then, which was half of what I bill now, I was still way in the plus financially. And, I had the space to start actually looking at the work I was doing. Well, once I started applying that math, then it was pretty simple to go to, okay, I need to hire someone to answer my phones and manage my calendar. I don't want to be answering the phone. I only want to take the calls that I need to take. So, I began to expand that. I hired a controller to do all our internal monitoring of money, closing files, opening files, all of that kind of stuff. And so basically at the end, it came down to, if it did not require a bar card, I didn't do it. And everything else on the business side was being done by, an employee, but I monitored it all. So I got regular reports. I knew exactly what was going on in the firm. And then, as you said before, when there was a problem, when the numbers weren't right, I could identify where the problem was and then deal with it. Were we having a problem with marketing? Were we having a problem on our phone? Were we having a problem getting hires? Were we having a problem handling the cases? And each one of those had their own number, and I could readily identify where that problem was, and then spend time coming up with a solution.
How did you pick the numbers for each area?
Well, the numbers were kind of gross numbers, so they're not arbitrary numbers. So I knew how many leads we were supposed to be getting. I knew how many of those leads should be qualified, how many should be setting appointments, how many should be showing up, and how many should be hiring. Because I had historical data. So this is the advantage of doing this for a long time, is I knew what those numbers should be. And if those numbers started to drop, and particularly percentage-wise, then, you start taking a look at it. Now, you got to know that if you look at it every single day, it's like looking at the stock market. You can go, oh my God, the stock market dropped $500 and then tomorrow goes up, $700. You got to look at it over, a week or a couple weeks period and see the trends. So like one day the phone may not ring, right? And then the next day you get 10 calls. So you got to look at that. But, as you say, after a while, you just start to know what those numbers should be, and when they're off. And then once you know when they're off, then you dig deeper and go, why is that number off? And figure that out.
How long did it take you to look at the numbers every week?
15 minutes tops.
Okay.
I mean, I get a report. I know exactly what my numbers should be. And I get a report that shows me basically how the whole year's going. And so I know where we should be and what to look at. So, I look at the P&L, I look at the bank accounts, and I look at the reports, and that tells me how things have gone and how things are going to go.
And I'm bringing this up because I think every business owner should have a dashboard for their business. And I have found the longer you have a dashboard, again, it comes back to a feeling. This is not math. This is just, you start to feel your business, and you can see when there's hiccups, and you can see when things are occurring. And once you know that a certain area is off and it's been off for 3 weeks in a row, you have a problem that needs to get addressed. And it also takes, I think, a lot of the emotion out of it. It's like, hey, 3 weeks in a row, it's been thumbs down. What's going on? What can we do to fix this? How can we improve it? We want to get back to thumbs up. And when you have a crystal clear gauge, it becomes easy to do that. I just find a lot of business owners don't build out their dashboard.
Yeah, no, I agree. And my experience has been most of the time, the problem is we got off script. We have a script for everything, for the intakes, for the interviews, for the hiring, all of those things. Every step of the way has got a script. And the first thing I look at is, have we gotten off script? Because if we've gotten off script and we get back on, normally the numbers go right back to where they belong. So that's the simple solution. That's not always the problem, but that's kind of where I started. My dad used to say, hey, if your car won't start, do you have gas? Check the gas gauge, right? Oh, okay, let's start with the simple solutions first, right?
Back when AOL was big and they'd be mailing out those discs to everyone, the first question tech support asked, is your computer on? Yeah,
right. Exactly.
It's amazing how often people didn't have their computer on. How did you create those scripts?
Well, that's where mentoring really helped. Richard James's program and working with other lawyers, you get kind of a base concept of what it is that you want to talk about. And then you make it, you customize it for your own firm and the personality of the person who's going to be on the phone. So they may say the same things. It's just, are they super bubbly? Are they more matter of fact? Who are they? And kind of set it so that they're in their power zone. They're playing to their strengths. And that tends to work pretty well. We've had different phone people over the years, kind of the face of the firm, and every one of them's a little different. So, we tweak it a little bit so it plays to their strengths.
Nice. I like it. And so you've built these systems, though, throughout your entire firm for everything you do.
Yes. Once we started building systems, then it was everything. And one of the things we do to update is when we get a new employee, we have them redo the entire manual. So here's the manual. We want you to follow it and tell me where it's not clear to you. Does it tell you to push this button versus that button? Maybe the software's changed and we haven't updated it. So that's always kind of the first thing to do, is that they become the expert in their position, and they get that, that owner's manual, if you will, updated. Because we're small and we don't have time to be doing that, every time the software changes, right? So that always works out pretty well.
Nice. Did a lot of that come out of Clockwork?
That came out of Clockwork and Traction, and I'm sure there's a number of other, books, and just talking about it with other firms about the systems that they were using. I mean, that was one of the nice things about Partners Club, is that I worked with a lot of other firms and got to see what they did and where they made mistakes, and then try not to duplicate that. Well, we tried this script and that didn't work so well. All right, well, what did you change? And so, yeah, being open to other people and even different practice areas. What works for real estate. It's not one-to-one for criminal defense, but you know what? There's some stuff in there that might be helpful.
And I think being part of an industry group where you're talking to other business owners in your field who are not direct competitors will help propel you so much faster, because when you start coming together, you all propel each other and can grow it into much more than you could do it alone. So I think people need to put the time and effort into doing that. One of the things you talk about is growing your business into an asset, because once you have a good solid asset and once you have systems and processes, I'm guessing you get a much better multiple of revenue or profit when you go to sell it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, first of all, you can't really price your firm realistically if you don't have systems. So if it's, especially we're talking about small and solo firms, if it's all me and I leave, what is there? There's nothing. Maybe there's some clients. But what we did is we built it so that it was virtually turnkey. And so when Martin bought it from me, he really didn't need to do anything except for change the name. Now he made some decisions to change a few things, and that was fine because he owns it, but he didn't need to, And the other nice thing about it, and I think the evidence that it all works quite well, because it's been over a year now, is that not a single employee left. So they were all happy with him taking over, and they were very comfortable with the systems. And so everything just ran very, very smoothly. And, and that's the way it's built. And it all ran without me being there. I mean, physically, I'm not even in the state. So
now, most people who are listening may or may not know law firms. Is this the norm for law firms?
No, it's absolutely completely unusual. Most small and solo firms, when the person either quits or can't do it, and that's the biggest problem, is that, you have a heart attack or a stroke or whatever, and you have this law firm, and if you haven't built it right, your family winds up having to figure it all out, right? I always built it with the idea that if I got hit by a bus, what would happen? Basically a succession plan. But if you build it properly and all the things are in place and you have your numbers and you can show, we've been on this steady revenue rise, and and we have a nice profit at the bottom, including salaries. Yeah, you get top dollar for it. And people would be interested in buying it, as opposed to, well, why should I pay you for something that, I don't even know if it works?
And that's the key. And I think that's the part that people don't realize when it comes to creating a sellable business. The more systems, processes that are documented, proven, and shown. I mean, you basically did what I love to talk about, which is to turn your business into a math equation. And you see how the whole math equation flows all the way through. And then it's easy to understand where the problems are. And that is what people like to buy. They like to buy systems. And by you creating such a turnkey system, it made it valuable. And I think every business owner should do this, not so much because they want to sell their business. It's so that they can go out of state for a couple of weeks and their business will run. And even out of state, they can spend 15 minutes a week checking in to make sure everything's okay back home and learning to let go and letting it operate.
Yeah. I mean, building any business that you can leave for 30 days that will continue to be profitable is kind of key. And it's, there's a lot of reasons why it doesn't make sense to work your entire life so you can retire only to, drop over dead. In my view, you need to set yourself up so if you want to leave or you just don't want to do it anymore. I mean, I practiced for 38 years. I'm ready to do something else. And it's not that I didn't like practicing. As a matter of fact, I just finished a jury trial and I actually like being in trial, but I'm ready to do something else.
And many people are. One of the biggest benefits of all of this, when you have enough cash flow, is you get to pick your clients, don't you?
Absolutely. You can turn down you get a gut feeling for who's going to be a real pain in the butt, right? And, sometimes they walk in and you just know this is not going to be profitable and I'm going to really regret it. Well, to build up that confidence and the courage to turn someone down who says, hey, here's 30 grand. And you're like, you know what? 30 isn't enough, right? To turn people away and know that you have a system in place that will replace them. That someone else will walk through the door tomorrow and I'm like, okay, I'll spend my time working with them.
And that is really, really nice. It's the place that every business should be. It's just not, no matter how much they give you, it causes so much disruption in your business. It is not worth it. So tell us, what are you working on these days? How are you helping others?
So I have a book, Legalese, The Ultimate Guide on How to Survive a Law Practice, which I think that every lawyer should read. It really is about, how to survive. I did this for 38 years, handling, the most serious criminal cases, death penalty cases, life cases, some pretty horrendous stuff. And, how did I survive that? And so it kind of goes through that journey of the importance of sleep, meditation, exercise, understanding how to take care of yourself, controlling your calendar, controlling your cell phone, controlling your email. It covers all those things. So I take that and I work one-on-one with small and solo practitioners to help them become profitable, because it all plays into the same thing. If you're not getting enough sleep, frankly, your business probably isn't very profitable. Because if you were sleeping well and getting the type of sleep that you need, you would be more likely to be sleeping that way if there's money in the bank and you're confident that your firm is going to continue to be profitable. So I work with people one-on-one in that, and I try to meet them where they are. I have a little test that I give them that really tells me the health of their firm. And if they can't fill it out because they don't know the numbers. So for example, one of the numbers I ask is, how many billable hours do you do a week? If they don't know, then I know where I need to start with them. What happens a lot of times is the people know, but they've never actually crunched all the numbers and they don't really understand the math. As you say, business is nothing more than a math equation. If you want to make $1 million and your average client value is $5,000, well, now you know how many clients you need. And then if you know what your acquisition costs, then now you know what your marketing budget needs to be, right? I mean, all of those decisions flow from just a couple key numbers, but most people don't know that or have never done the math. And so I work with them. We start there, and then depending on what they need is where we go.
I like it. If people would like to learn more about you and your systems, how do they go about doing that?
So the easiest way is go to my website, michaelchastaine.com or mikechastain.com, either one. That'll tell you quite a bit about what we're doing. It'll allow you to connect with me, or you can email me directly at mike@michaelchastaine.com, or you can interact with me on Facebook. I got a YouTube channel. I have a lot of great information on my YouTube channel, which is under Mike Chastaine, where I go through and talk about a lot of these little pieces, time blocking, intention. I just posted one yesterday on what I call the secret sauce, being intentional in everything you do. So there's a lot I'm pretty easy to get a hold of. Let's put it that way.
That is awesome. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, I've really enjoyed it. Thank you very much.
All those things that Mike said at the end, it's what we teach on our other podcast, Richer Soul, How to Live Life to the Fullest. If you're a lawyer, check out Mike's book. I love how he created systems and processes and had a clear dashboard to see the math equation of his business. This is what we do for our clients. This is what we teach in the Profit Blueprint program. And we make it easier. We help you figure out your dashboard. Too often, though, we go the opposite direction. We want to throw money at the problem. But as you know, You don't need more resources. You need to be more resourceful. Remember to focus on the bottom line.
If you'd like for us to be a part of your profitability journey, we have different programs available ranging from do-it-yourself to one-on-one coaching. Our course, The Profit Blueprint, teaches you everything you need to know to transform your profitability. There are 3 different tiers ranging from DIY to done with you so that businesses of all sizes can get the support that's best. Join the waitlist in the show notes to get more information and be a part of the next cohort. If you want a done-for-you service, you can hire us as your Chief Profitability Officers. We only work with a handful of clients, so they all get our full attention. We work with business owners who have or are growing to $500,000 to $10 million in revenue. You can use the scheduling link in the show notes to get on our calendar for a good fit conversation to see if we're the right people to support you and how we can help you.
This episode of the Profit Answer Man podcast is brought to you by SMBpodcastnetwork.com. The network is a collection of podcasts and shows from around the internet which focus on bringing you interviews with amazing guests who share actionable advice, ideas, and information for small and medium-sized business owners and entrepreneurs. Visit www.smbpodcastnetwork.com to find more great shows and easily subscribe to be notified of new episodes. It's a great way to discover quality content. If you've discovered us via the network, then I hope you enjoy today's show and will consider subscribing directly so you never miss our episodes. Remember to check out my other podcast, Richer Soul, where we talk about how to live the ultimate life and be the best business owner you can be. As we close out, let's repeat the mantra. Revenue is vanity, profit is sanity, and cash is king. Have an abundant and profitable week.